In 1964, Alan Wilson and Terry O'Connell founded the Pittwater RSL Football Club as part of the Pittwater RSL Youth Club. Over the decades, it has grown from a handful of teams to a powerhouse club, with over 110 teams and nearly 1,500 players.
My name's Mick Wilson. I've been involved with the Pittwater Soccer Club basically all my life. My father started the club back in 1964. The origin of the club goes even further back than that, because my father, with the help of his best mate Terry O'Connell, started the Pittwater Youth Club back in 1960. The youth club involved a lot of different sports and included soccer in the latter part of that youth club period. The soccer grew so large, Dad actually became manager of the Pittwater RSL Soccer Club. He managed to get a sponsorship from the RSL to generate the growth of the sport. There was a lot of people that helped. Jock Wilson, Donnie and Lorna Gale. They've been a massive influence to the club, and Annette and Neil, and have carried on the tradition of the club.
My name's Don Gale. I've been a member of this football club for about 50 years. Came in 1974 because my son was playing, my late son was playing. Became the manager of the Premier League side in 76, 77, 78. Became groundsman, looking after marking, watering the fields. I turned to refereeing, because you know what you're like when you're watching your team, you watch it with one eye. I thought I could do better than these blokes.
In those days we used to play on Mona Vale Oval, which is now the current site of the Mona Vale Library. And then they cleared land on Kitchener Park adjacent to the now skateboard ramp, which used to be a basketball area in those days. And then eventually over the years they cleared the remainder of the land, which is the now Kitchener Park. And we only had an old tin sort of shed there as the change rooms, which Donnie Gale happily pulled down with his truck at one point.
I think I started back in 1968, long time ago. I wasn't alone, there would have been other players. One that I remember more vividly than others was Peter Antic, and then Andrew Grunside came. We played juniors together. We had a lot of fun. I'm not so sure we were that successful, but I played at the highest amateur level for the club. Enjoyed the camaraderie with all my mates, and that bond that's kept us together is instilled within me. And of course I just enjoy coming down and watching my old team continue to succeed.
When my parents immigrated from England in 1970, we got here in August 17. I was 11 years old and started in the under-12s in 1971. And then just been a huge part of my life ever since.
The club's humble beginnings at Mona Vale Oval and later at Kitchener Park set the stage for its enduring success and deep community roots.
Premier League started in 1976 and we were fortunate enough to win it in 77, and we've won numerous trophies since then. I was just looking at the statistics of the Premier League, and it's been going for 47 years, and we've won I think 13 years, and we've been in the top 4 38 of those 47 years. So the club itself is incredibly successful.
The champion as champions, 2001 when Tommy coached, and 2011 and 12 when Buster Brooks coached. He was a good part of the club too. Buster, he put everything in. And then last year with Chris Woods, that was probably the most dominating champion of champions we've had, to be honest.
It's prestigious to have a Premier League side, and even more prestigious to have a successful one. We had a young Joey called Tom Haythornthwaite, and he was a Pittwater junior, the only one that's gone and played for Australia.
I've been with the club since 1980, played Premier League for nearly 20 years and still play with the 35 ones these days.
I've been associated with Pittwater for about 15, 16 years now. Started as a player, never played at the top level for Pittwater, but committed to the club as a coach, and proud to see my boys play in the Premier Reserves now.
As the club expanded, so did its facilities and the dedication of its members.
Originally, we didn't have a change room, and we finally got a little council shed and we all used to cram in there. It was ridiculous, but we managed. You know, we used to come off at half time, we all used to sit in the shed, and then you couldn't wait to get out of this shed because, 12 blokes smelling to high heaven. I remember one fellow, David Wilson, used to smoke at half time, and he'd be in the shed having a bunger, and we'd all be trying to get out of there.
We took on this project in about 1981-82. Took us 2 years to build it.
Every Sunday afternoon for seemed like eternity. We'd come down here cleaning bricks, put the barbecue on, have a few beers.
And the roof was put on by a football player from Avalon, a bloke called Terry Allen.
By the time it was built, it was 1984, and it was great. It was just to have somewhere to go. After training, we used to stay up here and play cards till all hours of the morning.
The year of 1984, not only was I born, but the Pittwater clubhouse was built. And the clubhouse, quite a few different people mean quite a few different things, but for me, I've got pretty fond memories of that place. A few of them are a bit foggy memories.
We had the introduction of a new clubhouse, and of course after that our Premier League teams went from strength to strength. I think we became the most dominant team at one stage. Not so sure if I was playing at that time, but I do remember an 83 and 88 grand final in first grade that we did win.
I started in 1964 when Dad created the club and was still playing in the mid-90s, so I played for 30 odd years. The last 17 of those in the Premier League. I played as a central defender. We in those days played like a 4-3-3 formation, and I would play as a central defender, and a person would play behind me, in those days called a sweeper, left back, right back type of affair. So I did a lot of the tackling. I guess people will say I was reasonably skillful at heading the ball, which I did a lot of, paying for the price these days. We left all the fancy stuff to the guys scoring goals up front, but they got all the accolades and we just did the defending basically.
I've been involved in the football club for over 30 years. Started back in 1990, the under-6 Falcons, and played in a lot of teams, had a good reign in the Men's Premier League, and currently playing the over 35s. I also coach a few kids teams as well. Been lucky enough to coach all three of my kids. Family involvement has always been at the heart of Pittwater RSL Football Club, fostering a unique sense of community that spans generations.
The club's very family orientated. A lot of the people that were involved in the club from the early days are still around, so it's just a real community feel to the club, and once people join, they tend not to leave, I suppose.
And you've only got to go down to Kitchener Park on a Saturday or Sunday and see the amount of people down at Kitchener every week, and the family atmosphere that is generated from that is just fantastic.
Football to me is really about being around mates and the lifelong friendships. I think what Pittwater has as well is that sense of community, sense of enjoyment. We've all got green hearts. There's always a belief in what we do and what we stand for.
Green hearts, green blood, that's what they're all very passionate about, and that sense of belonging. And whether that be because your family history belongs with Pittwater, or whether you're a newcomer like me, but you can feel that sense of family, the history and the legacy that goes with the club, makes it somewhere you want to be involved in. And that's definitely what's drawn me to it, and my role as the president in the club as well.
When you're around the club, you're aware of the heritage, you're aware of the stories of the history of the club and the legends that are part of the club reputation and the reputation it has for success.
We had an introduction of Don Gale and Lorna Gale, took the club to different levels, of course. Lorna Gale being the mother of the Pittwater Soccer Club, I've got to say.
But your mum was known as Mrs. Pittwater.
We came to the club in 1974, and my mum ran the canteen then, which was in an old caravan. And my dad was the manager of the Men's Premier League in 1976, 77.
I'm just an ordinary bloke, not very well educated, but my wife was smart. She was a club registrar and president for a while, and she learnt to use a computer herself. But she was very, very clever, not like me.
She would watch the Men's Premier League, rain, hail or shine. And then when my mum passed away in 2013, we did the Men's Premier League First Grade Players Player, which is a memorial trophy to my mum.
You still see people coming down that don't play anymore, or the children don't play anymore, and still come down to the club and especially watch the senior games.
We always see the Macedos down there, the Bagunoviches. So Nick Bagunovich is down there every week, and his son Max. I knew Max since he was about a 5-year-old, running around on the sideline, and now he's captain of the Men's Premier League.
All the lads, become best friends, and my whole family's played for the club, so 60 years is huge, and it's a family club, and everyone loves playing for Pittwater.
In any grassroots community football club, you expect there to be a strong sense of community, that people are getting involved, that they are volunteering their time, and certainly that happens within Pittwater. But more so, there is definitely more passion about why people are there rather than just doing a volunteer job.
There's that factor of loyalty, and there's that factor of generosity, I think, that comes from all the volunteers. Those that are willing to put their hand up and be president, the vice president, the secretary, those that run the canteen, those that do the lines, those that put up the nets and put down the nets, and they do it principally out of the goodness of their heart. There's something about that Pittwater spirit which seems to resonate loudly, to the point that we just keep having good players produced from our teams.
The Burgoyne family is a testament to the club's enduring legacy, with decades of involvement and dedication.
I've been with the club since I was 9, so 50 years. I've spent all my weekends as a kid and a teenager at Kitchener. I joined the committee in about 1997 as the comp secretary. Been the registrar, I've been the president, and I'm currently the trophy coordinator.
I'm currently the 35s, 45s coordinator, but I've held many roles. Vice president for, I think, 6 or 7 years, groundsman, I've done it all.
Both the kids have played football for the club. I've played, and he still tries to play.
Yeah.
I'm Kim French, and I've been involved with the club for a long time. I'm currently the Women's VP. My husband played in the early 90s, and then our son started playing in 2005. And one of our daughters decided she'd like to play, and I saw there was a gap of no one was really looking after the young girls, and just kind of stayed.
Kim French has been a vital part of supporting the women's teams, ensuring they have the support they need both on and off the field.
Players have hard times in their lives and stuff, and it's great to see them still feel safe enough to turn up and play, even though they've got some pretty major things happening in their life. They gel as a team and yeah, go through it supporting each other and having fun, and hopefully, yeah, winning some games.
I actually coached the Women's Premier League for about 7 years in the late 90s, early 2000s. So yeah, sort of to be a part of that in the early days and to see the continued growth in that aspect. And I guess just the participation numbers across the entire club continue to grow on a steady basis.
Back in the early days, Dad used to organise social clubs to play against, like Woy Woy and Wyong. And in those days, we didn't have any ladies' involvement as far as soccer was concerned. But I vividly remembering Dad organising all the mums that went up on one of those trips to play the game. That was in 1966, I believe, from memory. So that would have been the first ever Pittwater ladies team, although it was only a social game. Okay. My wife actually played in the very first competitive female team in 1975. That would have been the first year that ladies soccer would have started in the Manuringa area. So they played together for 3 years, I believe, until they all fell pregnant. And that was the end of that. But that was the start of a massive development of the ladies' game in this area. And as I say, my daughter played, my granddaughters are playing, and they love it. They get out of bed and they're just dying to get down there,
The inclusion and success of our Women's Premier League teams highlight the club's commitment to excellence and equality in sport.
I've been playing in the Women's Premier League, I think, for about 2 years, but we both played when we were younger in Pittwater. That's where we started off. Women's football is definitely on the map, and I feel like proud to be putting on the green jersey, especially for all the younger girls out in the club as well. They look up to us, and we've all been, very involved in the club, which we're very grateful for.
Today, the club continues to thrive with a strong vision for the future led by current President Karen Parsons.
The club has grown significantly over the years. This year we sat just under 1,500 players, which is about 1,700 members. That's across 111 teams, from under sixes right through to over 45s. 111 teams, that's 111 coaches and 111 managers volunteering their time every single week.
Many players have dedicated their lives to the club, playing hundreds of games and contributing significantly to its success.
We've got players in the club that have played over 1,000 games. I think I've played something like 600 or 700, but it's still a fighting battle between Andrew Grunsight and Peter Annick as to who's played the most games, and I think they're over 1,000. Gavin Smear's another one that's played with the club for a million years, and he would be way up high on that level. But I know at least 20 guys that have played in excess of 500 or 600 games for the club. There's no other club in the peninsula that would even go close to that.
60 years of Pittwater. I didn't actually realise I've been going for that long. I was a bit shocked, to be honest. But I reckon I've been here for at least 15 years. Yeah. Or like 13 or something, and I've seen it evolve over time. Yeah. We still haven't got the synthetic pitch, but that's all right. Yeah, we're waiting for that. Hopefully one day. Otherwise, it's such a great club to be around.
I think continuity and to focus on, having a good performance at the top end of the club gives it the reputation over those 60 years. And it's a long time. 60 years is a long time. So you wouldn't have got many words out of me 60 years ago, because I would have been 2, I think. So it's very difficult to think back how long that is. But I know from personal experience, it's a bloody long time.
For me, I'm just so grateful for the club. Not only lifelong friends, that you might see someone that you haven't seen for 10 years and you might see them over the other side of Kitchener or down at Manly or somewhere on a soccer field now that their kids are playing, and you sort of look at them, you nod and smile, and you're like, yep, I remember that good time. That was a great time.
I don't get too excited nowadays, but I used to jump up and down on the sideline a bit like a lot of other people. But I do love it.
One thing I'm very proud of, and I think the Dad would be very proud of, is that the way the club has been managed since 1964, and the way they've been dressed and attired and appeared on the park every weekend, always looking superb. I think we're the envy of pretty every club in the peninsula, and the fact that we're called the pride of the peninsula is perfect.
The club has gone from strength to strength. I'm happy to be a part of it, and we'll always love the Greens.
I was actually years ago to go to Manlyville. Not a chance.
Were you?
Nah, there's only one club for me.
Go Greens!